everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Shauna, if you're new here. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. I would really appreciate it. But we are officially in the year 2021. So glad to see 2020 go. 2021 has been a little bit of a rocky start, but it's okay. We're gonna get better as the year progresses. Fingers crossed, and here's hoping. It's been a little while since I have filmed a video. Obviously the holidays got in the way of a lot. I also have been dealing with a lot of health things and seeing multiple doctors and all of this stuff. I'm recovering from surgery. I am okay, but it has been a bit of a whirlwind. So that is why this video is coming so late. So I do apologize, but it's here. So I just wanted to do a December wrap up of what I read in December. I read actually quite a bit, which was good considering the holidays and stuff, but I think it was because I was sitting around at home and sitting around here and just not really doing a whole lot that I was able to read so much. I also had some really good reads in December, so it's gonna be a good talk, this video. Okay, so the first book that I read in December was Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lana Popovic. When I tell you guys, so this was a book, let me start off with this. This was a book that I randomly grabbed at the library because I always try to get at least one book, whether I'm at the bookstore or at the library. I always try to get one book that I haven't either heard anything about, or I haven't heard anything about the author, or haven't read any of that author's work. So I usually try to do this. Most of the time I'm pretty good, sometimes I don't. But this was one of those books that I just randomly picked up at the library. It's a duology, there's two. And I read Wicked Like a Wildfire, and holy crap, it blew my mind. It was so freaking good. Let me tell you what this book is about. So the premise of this book is obviously what really kind of intrigued me because I hadn't heard anything about it or heard anything about this author. So essentially what this book is about, it centers around, well, one twin, but she does have a twin sister, and they have these magical abilities as well as their mom. So they were raised by their mother, who was a single mom. She raised them by herself, and they actually live in, I think, Morocco. So they were raised there, and they have these magical abilities as well as their mother. And basically what the main twin, who you kind of read through her perspective, this book, she can like create these mosaics and it's so hard to describe. But she basically oh my God, and this author was just so good at writing it that it's just so hard to summarize, and it's so hard to express how well this author wrote. Like, this author's writing style, I think, is what really pulled me in and dragged me in. The story ended up being fantastic and I loved it, but I think it was the writing style that really made me want to read more. But basically the main twin, she can pull different colors and pull different images and create this beautiful mosaic art kind of things. So what she does to kind of funnel this power, I guess you could say, is she does a lot of glass blowing. She is able to create these really cool intricate designs and colors within the glass work, and create these baubles and things like that. That's just the best way to describe it. It's so hard to explain, but when you read the book, you fully understand what the author is saying. She describes it way better than I'm doing right now. So the other girl, the sister, the twin, what she can do is she can actually sing emotions, whether it be her own or ones that she's feeling. So she's able to read other people's emotions pretty well and sense what's in the room, whether it be tension or sadness or anger or whatever it may be, and she's able to sing that. There were no lyrics in the book, but the author described the emotions that the girl was singing, and that was what was really interesting. So their mother is able to put memories and put things into her baking and her food. So she is a baker, and the girls help her at her bakery and help her with these things, but the mother is the one who actually puts in memories and puts in feelings and emotions, kind of the same way that the girl does to put in songs. She puts it into food. So of course, this book was filled with descriptions of really good food so this whole book, I wanted to eat while I was reading this book because the food sounded amazing and it made me really hungry. So yeah, that's basically what these girls can do. And their mother kind of was teaching them from a young age, and then all of a sudden for some reason stopped kind of teaching them and creating with them and things like that. So the main girl, the main twin that we read her perspective, she has a very tense relationship with their mother. In the very beginning of the book, you know, you're learning about their abilities and the magic and all of this other stuff. And then the mother all of a sudden dies. And so that's not spoiling anything. It's very early on in the book. And so they're going kind of on this adventure because now they're given clues and something doesn't seem quite right, and they're meeting new people that just don't seem right and seem like they might have something to do with it or have known their mother. And because they don't know anything about their mother's past, she's refused to tell them about anything more about their father than like what his favorite food was and like, I think his name, or I don't even know if they got his name. Anyways, they know nothing about their mother's past or their family history. They don't know anything. And so they're kind of thrust into this adventure together, and the girls go on, you know, this wild, wild ride. Needless to say, this book was a 5-star book for me. You know, I haven't really talked about stars in the last couple videos, I think, just because sometimes I feel like giving star ratings and sometimes I don't. I feel like sometimes stars don't really represent, unless it's a 5-star book, stars don't really represent the book well enough for me sometimes. I mean, I still rate things on Goodreads, but like, sometimes I'll say it, sometimes I won't. But this was definitely a 5-star book for me. So take that with how you will. But yeah, this one was amazing. I flew through the first one, and then I immediately went to the library and picked up the second one because, like I said, this is a duology. So that leads us into the second book I read in December, which is Fierce Like a Firestorm by Lana Popovic. And this one just kind of, it picks up right where the first book left off. I can't really talk about the second book at all without spoiling things that happen in the first. So I'm just gonna say this was also a 5-star read, and honestly, it was probably even better than the first one. So this author did a really amazing job. Just like I said, her writing style is what really pulled me in. It's very lyrical, it's very descriptive, and it's very, you can feel everything that she talks about. So because these women are able to weave in emotions and colors and different, all of the different senses, the smells, the tastes, everything, like hearing it and seeing it, everything, this author did such an amazing job explaining that and making us feel everything, making us feel like we're actually tasting the food that the mother was baking or making, just because she doesn't always bake. She cooks food sometimes too. Anyways, but you really felt like you were eating the food. You could smell it. You could see the things that our main character was creating, the different artwork that she was creating. You could feel the emotions that she described and hearing those songs that the twin was singing, and it blew me away. And there were a lot of twists and turns, a lot of things I did not see coming, especially coming into the second book, just finding out these things. And it was so mind-blowing that I had to sit here and talk to Tony about it and to Karis about it, our friends, because I was like, you guys need to understand, because I will tell you, I literally was reading this book, the second book, before bed one night, and Tony was sitting next to me, and I just start crying. Tears are falling down, and he's like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's going on? And I think he's come to expect it by now, that sometimes these books just make me feel all the feels. But honestly, I have not cried in a book in a long time. Well, I probably did last year at some point, but I really don't remember which one it was. But it's been, oh my gosh, like I cried. And he was like, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to tell me about it? And I was like, it's too difficult to explain. Let me sleep on it, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow. And so then, of course, tomorrow I spent like an hour talking about the first book and the second book to explain and convey the emotions that I was feeling, because it was a lot. So needless to say, if I haven't already said it, this was another 5-star read for me. This was so, so good. I will definitely be reading a lot more of this author. I believe she does have 1 or 2 other books out. I think this is one of the first things she wrote. It may not have been a debut for her, but it was definitely one of the first books she wrote. So I will definitely be reading more of hers. Yeah, it was just, I'm still all up in the feels about it. I will definitely be purchasing a collection of this series because I need to have my own personal copy so I can relive it, but also like it's too soon. I need to wait because let me just leave it at that. Okay, so the third book that I read in December is actually part of the reread series that I'm doing with Natasha. If you haven't already checked out some of our Tipsy review videos of this book, or this series, I should say, definitely check it out. I'll put it in the link below in the comments or in the description. So the third book I read this month is actually the third book in the series, in the House of Night series. So this is Chosen by Kristen and PC Cast. And yeah, I'm not going to talk a lot about this one because Natasha and I, I'm sure we'll get into it. We have more review videos coming out pretty soon because we both speed read through this one and the fourth one. So we had a lot to say, and I'm sure we will continue to have a lot to say about this series. This is just, if you haven't read it, or if you didn't know, we are doing a reread of this series. So we both read this series in like high school. Before we ever met each other, we just kind of read it on our own. Both of us stopped around the same book because these books were still coming out at the time. So we just never finished the series. We thought it would be fun to pick it back up and relive high school memories, I guess. Sometimes that's fun. But this has definitely been a wild ride. It's been kind of funny and hilarious, but also very problematic and upsetting a lot of the time. I will say they're getting better, but they're definitely not. Just go watch those Tipsy reviews because we say it all in those videos. We sum it up. We have deep discussions about it. We have a lot to say about this series, so yeah. If it doesn't surprise you, the fourth book I read in the month of December is the fourth book in the series. Like I said, we speed read through the third and fourth book. We had to know, but also like I was catching up with Natasha because she had read further than I did because I was so stuck on the first 2 books that I read this in the month of December. As I mentioned, I had a lot of feelings about those books, so I was immersed in that while she was reading the third and fourth book. So I was also trying to catch up, but I also really wanted to know what was happening because I feel like every single one of these books in the series, at least so far, have always left on some sort of cliffhanger, and I'm just like, well, I have to pick up the next book now. So, big surprise, yeah, I finished this one in the month of December as well. Again, we'll be talking all about it in upcoming videos. The second video coming out pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that, where we discuss the second book. And then I'm sure soon enough, these will come out, the videos of us getting drunk and talking about these books. Oh. This is the sixth book that I read this month. I skipped a book, so I will go back to that. But I have this one in my hand right now, so I'm going to talk about it. So the sixth book that I read in the month of December was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. I never read these books. So earlier this year, if you didn't see, I read A Court of Thorn and Roses series and absolutely fell in love with it. It is now become one of my favorite series of all times. I will say it right now. It was just so fantastic, and everyone always talked about Throne of Glass. I've seen obviously so many posts and videos and talks about it, and knew that I had to read it. I knew it was one of her earlier series. She wrote this before Court of Thorn and Roses, but my sister actually recommended it to me too a while back. She was like, you definitely need to read this series. So we're now talking about this together. She actually just called me the other day and was like, did you read the third one yet? I'm like, I haven't gone to the library to get it. So that's on my to-do list. But yes, I did read this lovely series. I will definitely say it's getting a lot better. The first book was very, very slow for me. And I heard people talk about that and say that you just kind of have to once you hit like the second or third book, it really starts to pick up. So I kind of expected that. I went in knowing that, kind of put my expectations a little bit lower, but it was fine. Like it was good. It was good enough for me to want to continue the series. I will say that. The second book definitely, I think, was what did it for me. I actually called my sister about halfway through, I think it was this one, or like a third, 3/4 of the way through. And I was like, what did you do to me? Why did you make me read this series? Because if you've read this series, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to spoil it. Yeah, something happens that I was very upset about. And so I had a lot of feelings and a lot of things to say, but my sister assured me it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. Just keep reading. It'll be fine. So I'm going to continue the series. Pretty much everyone knows what this series is about, but if you're unaware, it's basically about a girl named Selena Sardathian. I don't know how to pronounce it. She is an assassin, like the greatest assassin in the kingdom, essentially. And she, in the first book, goes to, you find out she starts off in the book in a prison, working in the mines. She is a prisoner, and because she had been caught for being the most ruthless assassin in the kingdom, as I mentioned. And so king is trying to find a champion, and so he invites people of his court to like choose a champion to represent them, and basically he's like whittling it down, and they do a bunch of tests and do a bunch of different things to see who is going to become his champion and work for him for like 4 or 5 years. I don't know. They would have a contract with him, but then after that they would be free. So of course Selena was like, I mean, yeah, I want to be free, so I'm gonna try to be his champion even though I hate this guy. So that's what the first book is all about. The second book picks up pretty much right where the first one, it didn't pick up. So it's a few months later, I think it is, after the whole epic thing, choosing a champion and all of this stuff. So now we're just kind of following her journey and her new friends that she's met along the way. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to like give anything away, so I'm not going to say anything further than that. If you're interested in this series, I highly, highly recommend it though. Like I said, the first book is very, very slow. It's okay, but it's the second one I feel is where it really picks up. I'm excited to read the third one though and see what everyone's talking about, because usually people tell me it's the third book that it picks up. So I don't know what happens, but we'll see where this goes. This one left us on a cliffhanger, so I'm dying to know what has happened. That's all I'm gonna say. So the book that I skipped, I don't know in what order I read these. Sometimes they overlap. But this one I read an audiobook. I listened to it in my car mostly when I was driving back and forth to my parents' house to hear. It is Girl, Serpent, and Thorn by Melissa Basherdoust. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. This one, yeah, like I said, I listened to on audiobook. It was okay. It wasn't, the premise sounded really interesting, which is why I picked it up. It didn't really do a whole lot for me. I wasn't really excited or, like dying to read it. So what happens, the premise of this book, this girl is, I feel like it's like a retelling of almost like Sleeping Beauty or something in a way, in a roundabout way. But basically this girl is cursed from birth. She touches anyone else, like if her skin comes in contact with your skin, you die, like you're poisonous. So she can't, have any sort of like human contact or contact with anything. Like she touches butterflies or bugs and they die. The only thing she really can touch besides like man-made things is like plants, and I guess plants are fine. So she plants a lot of things, which I think is really nice. Like she needs something. She can't hug anyone. Her own mother can't hug her or kiss her. Anyways, so she's cursed from birth and she's never known really, well, her mother has told her this story about her being cursed, or like the mother was cursed saying, oh God, I can't, and this is like, I don't really remember a whole lot because this book wasn't that memorable for me. It felt very elementary to me. The writing was fine. It was just the story itself really didn't, I feel like it resolved itself pretty early on, and then it threw some more problems at you and then it resolved, and then it threw some more problems at you and it resolved. We didn't have one overarching thing that was like a big problem for this book. Like, it kept flip-flopping and switching. And for me, that doesn't make me want to keep reading, because I'm like, oh, well, that one thing I was worried about is resolved. Why am I going to keep reading this book? I'm a third of the way through. The thing I was worried about is resolved. And then it introduces a new problem and then goes to resolve that. So it's not like there's ongoing things. I mean, that's how I read it anyway. And I just, it was, I don't know what else to say about it. But yeah, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It definitely wasn't a bad book. It wasn't one that I was like, no, I'm not even going to finish it. I definitely did want to finish it. I wanted to see how it ended and how it wrapped itself up. But yeah, other than that, I wouldn't really recommend this book to anyone. It was just okay. It was meh. It was okay. That's the best way to describe this book. Okay, so I think I have officially gone through all of the books that I read in December. I did start a couple of other books, but I won't be talking about those because I haven't quite finished them. So that'll be in the end of this month video. I know these videos are coming out late, guys. I'm so sorry. Like I said, it's been crazy, but I hope to be more consistent this year, and I hope to be more consistent in the coming weeks as well. Like, on top of, we're still in this year, but you know what I mean. Anyway, 2020 sucked. 2021 is going to be great. I have a feeling. I know it. I hope I don't kick myself in the butt later on by saying that. But I will be coming out with another video very soon. That's going to go over my 2020 year in review. And I'll talk about all the books I read and if I did my goals, because earlier in the year I made a 2020 readings goal video, and we'll see if I actually did those things. We'll go over what I accomplished and what I did not, because there are several things I did not accomplish. So that video will be coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time that I post a new video. Like I said, these videos are going to be coming out more consistently. I promise. Hold me to it. If you read any of these books that I mentioned in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them, whether you agree or disagree. I would love to hear from you. Like I said, subscribe, hit the bell icon, watch some other videos that I put out, and check out all the links I put down in the description below. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.